three British friends being held in an Italian quarantine detention centre against their will for more than a month. They've tested positive again for the sixth time. We spoke to them last week and we're going to be joined by them again. Where are you, chaps?
They were in Florence teaching English. They first tested positive for the virus 6 weeks ago when two of them showed symptoms. Last week, you told us you were stuck in an eternal hell. And now, joining us from your separate rooms, Will Castle, Rhys James and Quinn Pachesney. This hell isn't over, is it, Will?
No, it's not over at all. I mean, like, just in the space of the last week, we've had... The way we were told was that I found out through the nurse who wasn't even prepared with test results, but just said, oh, everyone who got tested on that day was positive. And then since then, we've been the embassy was trying to help us with the food situation, but it's actually over the weekend managed to be getting worse. And we've actually had meals where we've just not been supplied with any protein at all. So, yeah, that's kind of been the latest.
And Rhys, the thing about the meals is that actually they're the thing which are keeping you going, aren't they? Because you're all separated in your rooms. You cannot leave the premises. You're not allowed to see each other. You're apparently not even allowed to put your head out of the window. We're just having a look at one of the meals you've got.
Food?
I mean it's grim.
I've got to be honest. That food looks disgusting. Is it as bad as it looks?
Yeah, honestly, it's not great whatsoever. I mean, you know, yesterday we were all waiting for our meals until about 8:30 last night. And all I got was 2 bowls of chopped potatoes, and that was everything. And sometimes they'll forget the food. Sometimes, I think Quinn's arrived, it was completely cold. It was almost frozen. They forget all the portions, and you call the reception. There's nothing they can do, apparently. So, you know, what are we meant to do in that situation?
Well, Quinn, I mean, you're in prison. For all intents and purposes, you guys are serving a jail sentence with no limit at the moment. You're due to have another test today. You won't hear until tomorrow. And, you know, I feel so sorry for you guys. But what is it doing to your mental health, all this?
Yeah, like, as I've sort of said before, this whole situation is so sort of draining and just gets you down constantly. Being sort of in these 4 walls and not being able to just sort of go about daily life or daily conversations and have normal social scenarios is really difficult.
What do your families, Will, make of all this? I mean, are you able to have regular contact? Is that all OK? But what are they saying to you?
Yeah. I mean, like, for my parents, I think it's just incredibly frustrating, really, because they want to help. They want to do everything possible to try and, like, get me out of here or improve my situation. But it's just not proving possible currently. I mean, we have had some developments. I was able to actually have a personal conversation with my MP on Friday, and that was quite encouraging. But, yeah, so far, nothing has really changed.
Do you know, Rhys, do you guys know how long you could be there? I mean, what's the longest anyone's been in your position? Do you know?
I mean, this is the thing. We keep making jokes about putting up our Christmas decorations because we really don't know. I mean, we know one lad that's been here for 3 months. And the doctors have told us it can be anywhere between, 2 weeks to 12 months the virus can stay in your system.
12 months?
And yeah, so we really have no clue.
Well, Hilary, let's bring in Dr. Hilary.
Why are they still testing positive, Dr.
Hilary, we're following their story. I mean, we're horrified by this, but what's the reality? How long does this thing stay in your body where you test positive?
OK, so the PCR test will pick up fragments of the RNA in the virus for many weeks after somebody has become asymptomatic, after testing positive in the past or having symptoms. Here in the UK, you are asked, if you've had a COVID positive test, to self-isolate at home for 10 days after your symptoms started. And after that, as long as you've only got a dry, continuous cough or loss of taste and smell, you can go back to your normal activity. Now, there in Florence, Will, Rhys and Quinn are being told that whilst they continue to test positive, even though globally we know that the test can stay positive long after the virus cannot any longer be transmitted from that person, they are saying they have to quarantine. And that doesn't make much sense.
Well, Quinn, I mean, the irony is, as Dr. Hilary says, if you were here in the UK, you would have been allowed out after 10 days. Meanwhile, you are imprisoned for 6 weeks with currently no prospect unless you get 2 negative tests being released.
Yeah, that's sort of so frustrating to think that if we were back in the UK, all of this would have been sort of finished like 4 weeks ago, really. Obviously, we're not in the UK, so this scenario is still happening and probably will continue to happen for many weeks, really.
Is this happening across Italy? I mean, are you unique in this particular centre or this particular city? Or does everybody in Italy who tests positive have to stay isolating until they get 2 negative tests?
Yeah, I wish that I could say we were sort of unique in this situation, but there's just in Florence alone, there's 4 or 5 of these facilities that we're in full with coronavirus patients. So, yeah, we're not individual to what's happening in Italy.
Guys, what would you normally be coming back to? I mean, do you have jobs, universities? What's your situation? Will, what's your situation?
I mean, for me, I was aiming to come back and have a job in London. I didn't have one lined up, thankfully. So from that perspective, I've been okay. But also, it's quite hard to find jobs when you can't tell someone when you're starting. And then Quinn was supposed to be at university. He was supposed to be starting this week, and he's had to miss that because of this. And then Reese was going to be like doing jobs just like me. So like we've all kind of had our lives sort of turned around by this.
Quinn, where were you going to go to university?
So I was meant to be going into my 3rd year as a trainee teacher at Bishop Grosseteste University in Lincoln.
And what have they said to you at university? I mean, obviously, can you do any studies online from where you are, or?
So I don't have like my laptop or any resources. I just have my phone, so it's really difficult to participate in any of the lectures or seminars. So they've pushed sort of some of my start dates back and just kind of praying that this situation ends soon, really.
Yeah.
And Reese, I mean, you mentioned you guys, you've been told it could be 12 months. I mean, when you hear something like that, what do you think you'd be like if you have to do 12 months of this?
I mean, it's ridiculous. They think, for mental health's sake, we can stay in our separate rooms and do this, for 7 weeks, let alone 12 months. So it is really disheartening. And you feel a bit neglected by the system. There's no real care or support given by the medical team here, by the staff. So, yeah, you just don't know what to do, to be honest.
Do these interviews make any difference? Are they aware you're giving them? Are they getting any feedback from this?
Yeah, I mean, we've had local Italian papers and journalists come into us for the story as well. One of the guys here who's from Italy has said he's seen the 3 of our faces in the story. So we're like little celebrities here in Florence now. But, we're getting the coverage. It's just more so pressing onto the government to kind of do something to get us home. Otherwise, we're waiting for these 2 negatives, which could be next week or could be in March. Like, we really don't know.
I know you've spoken to your local MP here. Are you clear on what the legal situation is? I mean, for instance, if all 3 of you just went, we've had enough, we're going to the airport, we're getting on a plane and going, what would happen?
As far as we're aware, if we did that, we could be like arrested, fined, and possibly banned from Italy if we chose to leave the facility and attempt to fly back to the UK.
Can I make a constructive comment here? Look, we're all relying on the PCR test here, which we know picks up fragments of the virus when it's no longer possible to transmit it. It can't replicate anymore. It's a dead virus. But there is another way, and it might be worth asking your local British embassy about this culture test. So you can take the virus, you can take a swab, and you can try and grow the virus in a culture. It is more difficult to do than a PCR test. It takes longer, but it's the only way of telling whether the virus is capable of replication, in which case it's still alive. If it isn't still alive, then you're no longer infectious. So I would just ask the officials at the embassy whether they can arrange privately.
The problem is, Hillary,
a culture test.
That might well be a way out of it, but the Italian authorities, that may not be the way they do things, and they may just say no.
No, but it might give them ammunition to go to a court and say you're holding us illogically and unscientifically against our will.
Right. Well, guys, look, it's a nightmare for you. We'll keep having you on. Apart from anything else, it gives you something to look forward to, right? Monday morning. Good morning, Britain. Probably the most exciting bit of your week.